So, where y'all at? Thank you to our $5 patrons, Red Wolf, 4765, Midnight Gem Lord, and Sean. And a very big thank you to our $25 patron, Alex Ice Rose. Now, we're up in this breakdown / discussion on what the 4 Archangels are going to do upon their return and resurrection. Please remember to leave your own what the Archangels will do in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. It's more visible as $1 a month. And exclusive videos, early content, and more. Also, now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, let's hop into the discussion. What's up, guys? I'm Pencil here, and here we are to talk about the resurrection of the Archangels, and specifically 3 Archangels. The Flash, the Tornado, and the Ocean. Those 4 in particular. Mainly because Mael should still be alive. Like, there's no problem with him. He should be vibing. He's still fodder, though. Unbelievably fodder. I don't want to hear it, Mael fans. You come back to me when no Amps Mael has better feats than getting beat up and mollywopped by some no-name fodder goddesses, and then maybe we'll have a conversation. Remember, bro had to get saved by Gila, of all characters, and this is not even a time skip Gila, a pre-time skip Gila he had to get saved by because he was getting absolutely mollywopped and body bagged. But actually, yeah, the other 3 Archangels, man, because they aren't exactly like gone, but they aren't exactly here either. So fun fact, Nagaba did mention that the 4 Archangels, as long as they, cease the living with their grace, they'll actually come back. Like, they will never actually permanently get GG'd. You kind of have to, like, eat them if you're a demon, because that would erase them from existence, which is rough. Or you, like, I guess you true magic meld them. I'm not sure if Arc would work on them. Like, Arc also wipes you away from existence, but goddesses have an inherent resistance to Arc, so they're like goddess-infused souls that are fused with their grace should also have an immunity to Arc. So realistically, you just had to have like a demon eat them. But I don't think any demons ate them. They should have just faded into nothing reincarnation zone. And or I don't think True Magic Bell hit any of them with a stray or something like that. So they should still be just fine and be coming back eventually. But the question is, how are they going to come back, for one? Because there are 2 ways they could do it. One, they could just resurrect in their real bodies. Notably, we see that they spent a majority of the time in their human bodies attempting to recoup their regular forms. Sariel and Tarmiel even admit this. They're like, yeah, we didn't want to do this soon because our original bodies aren't ready, so we're going to have to take our astral forms, but bada bing, bada boom, we're back. Like, we never left. And then, Mael one-shot each of them. So that was rough for them. And Ludishel, he was kind of kicked out, admittedly. Ludishel kind of just got done dirty. His soul was just kicked out the body by Hendrickson. So he never got his true body back either. But realistically, with 16 years of time, they should have their true bodies back if that's how their reincarnation works. Because before, you got to realize they mainly had at most like 6 months. Maybe not even. Well, no, it should be more than 6 months because it's pre-Meliodas, ceasing. Actually, no, it isn't. At least with Tarmiel and Sariel, we know that at least we know Sariel takes control of the body right before Meliodas's, ceasing of the living himself against the 10 Commandments, because he takes over the body of the young woman that was traveling in the labyrinth. But we don't know exactly when Tarmiel took his body, because he just made a deal with a guy who was, oh wait, no, he was also there. Yeah. So both of those characters got it, like, they had the bodies for a little over 6 months, because we know they got the bodies right before the time skip. And then Ludishel got his body post time skip, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think, like, legitimately, Ludishel doesn't actually hop into Margaret's body until, like, I think at the point, maybe in the middle of the Meliodas and Escanor fight, I think that's actually when he gets a human body. So he had even less time to physically incarnate than the other 2 did. And their bodies weren't even ready in 6 months. So 16 years hopefully is enough time for them to resurrect. But the question is, how does the resurrection work? Because if they just get their true bodies back, then they're back to normal. They're probably in the Celestial Realm right now, vibing and ruling over it, considering the Supreme Deity's not exactly alive anymore. And Mael probably needs a little bit of help, considering, once again, he's fodder. I'm sorry, I'm not letting that go. Like, And notably, I feel bad for Mael fans. Don't get me wrong. I feel bad that your favorite character is like fodder, because he's also one of my favorite characters. As much as I clown on the man, I love Mael. But why did Nakaba make him... like, getting saved by Gila was the most disrespectful thing that Nakaba could have done to that man. But with that being the case, they're probably back in the Celestial Realm with their bodies reincarnated, as normal. However, the question is, could they have reincarnated in different bodies? Because we know that the Graces are pseudo-sentient. We don't have a full explanation of how it works, but when Sunshine left Mael, it went to Escanor 3,000 years later, yeah, but it didn't incarnate into another goddess. It specifically incarnated into a human. So do you think the resurrection stuff is like built in an extremely weird way, so where they would maybe incarnate into human forms, or they would infuse themselves into a human? I don't think so. Part of me wants to see that, because I'd like to see the human Archangels, and that would also give them a chance to go into Camelot, and we could get more characterization for them. Because think about it, even Ludashel, the guy with the second most screen time of the Archangels, barely has probably 10 chapters of overall screen time. I'm not kidding. Maybe 15 at most. And Tarmiel and Sariel, shoot, they might as well be blinks in the narrative. So I'd like to see them go to Camelot with the Four Knights, but, you know, it's the Four Knights story, so I highly doubt that's going to happen. So I'm going to assume that they are just back in their goddess bodies, and they are chilling in the Celestial Realm. But, obviously, Nakaba didn't just let them go. He specifically made it so that they would come back, and that's an executive decision by Nakaba. So what's he cooking right now? What's he planning to do with them? Because you don't just drop that. Admittedly, he dropped it in the Q&A. There's nothing in the series that implies that they will reincarnate. You literally have to go find the Q&A question where he says that. But still, he put it out there that the four Archangels could and can return. So return for what? Notably, the power creep of Four Knights is very, very high. Like, relative to the original series, we're not even 100 chapters deep, and we're already, like... even the weakest of our Four Knights is casually around the mid-season or the middle of Seven Deadly Sin tiers in terms of power. Like, some matchups go extremely badly for the weakest of the Four Knights, Percival, up against a lot of the mid-series. Like, just due to scaling directly at all to Meligaland, a Chaos Gown. Whether or not you believe they're stronger or weaker, there are commandments, there are high-level demons, and we're very early on in the series, and characters are already comparing to that, if not eclipsing it, in the case of beings like demonic Tristan, obviously Lancelot, who's in an entirely different tier. So power-wise, the four Archangels may not be all too hot or too special anymore. So I highly doubt that. Notably, it is getting hinted at, especially by Tristan in the recent chapter, that realistically one of the goals of the Four Knights is to gather all the other races and have them join against the forces of chaos, rather than having any more infighting like they were doing for the longest time. And with that being the case, it could be interesting to see them, you know, join in and help in the fight. But knowing Nakaba, I don't necessarily see that happening all too well, especially considering he set up the fact that beings can't enter Camelot, or at least non-human beings, and thusly the four Archangels, you know, angels in the title, they aren't exactly human. So I'm wondering what Nakaba could be doing. And I think a big thing Nakaba could be doing is giving us the other side to the same story, with the consistent hinting at Tristan, you know, being Tristan, aka the son of the greatest demon to ever exist and the child of the greatest goddess to ever exist. He has a whole lot to learn about the past. And unfortunately, the two people who could tell them, or tell this child, everything about the past are one thing: ashamed about the past, ashamed about the people they were, the people they harmed, and the story that they ended up telling through the actions they chose that led to Tristan's existence. And thusly, Tristan is a young man with a conflicted past and a body that fights against him, that barely understands anything about himself because his own parents won't tell him anything about himself. And with that being the case, we have people that were there. Were there for the longest time. Were there who saw the people that these two were in arguably their apex, their purest state. The ones who feared the king, or the future king of the demon realm, and the ones who fought alongside she who was once known as the Bloody Ellie. And thusly, it leaves the Archangels in a very interesting spot and what they could serve for the narrative. Because even if I do think their abilities shall get power crept out of out of existence, being completely honest, considering how powerful the series already is pre the 100 chapter mark, I could definitely see them being useful fountains of information, especially considering how the series is being structured so far. We seem to be visiting a lot of the other different realms, so that seems to be on the path line for Four Knights of the Apocalypse. We already have Lancelot heading to Benwick, which is not necessarily a separate realm, but the Fairy King's Forest point. I was about to say point 2, but nah, 2.0. And then we have Percival and the gang heading to see King, likely in the fairy realm, and we have Tristan's group visiting what could be old Camelot, which may link them to the new Camelot. So realm hopping is already going to be a thing that seems like it's going to happen, especially considering the fact that Arthur doesn't seem to just be, going after non-humans in the real world, but just going after non-humans in general, considering he had trapped a fairy within his own realm and was puppeteering it around, and we see he's not above using the other species, presumably when they were chilling in their own realms. I don't have any reason to believe that Io and her friends were just wandering around the mortal realm. They were likely in the demon realm when they got mind controlled. I could definitely see the four archangels being the conduit, being the bridge to the past that helps Tristan understand himself. Because the thing is, the goddesses, especially within the Seven Deadly Sins world, are seen kind of like how angels are commonly seen in our world. They're seen as good, holy beings, proper, true helpers and love of the world. We even see in Four Knights, Dolores, a giant of all creatures, is praying to the goddess clan. The goddess clan has this really nice squeaky clean image set up everywhere, and it's good for them in terms of a PR stunt. But for Tristan, a person who seemingly lacks information on the truth of the goddess clan, could benefit a lot from learning about it. And the four archangels being inarguably probably like some of the oldest beings out there. Like Ludishell's 6,000. Put it into perspective. Ludishell's 6,000. You want to know how old Chandler and Cusack are? 6,000. Ludishell was born at the time the original demon was split. Yeah, that's how old he is. Admittedly, Tarmiel and Sariel are younger, but still, they were around for a very, very long time, even before the 3,000-year time skip. They have so much information on the goddess clan that only they would have, and they could be amazing to bring Tristan into the fold and let him understand really the good and bad of his past that his parents would never tell him. And considering the fact that we are on a journey type series, it seems like Nakaba's main goal is to continuously flesh out more of the world that he set up in Seven Deadly Sins. I can see the Archangels being very strong keys to fleshing out that world, really giving us the context for the Celestial Realm that we realistically lack. Like, not only would it be Percival, Tristan, Lancelot, Gawain, and co. all learning about the Celestial Realm and its history, but it would also be us. We know nothing about the Celestial Realm, being completely honest, other than that the Supreme Deity made it, goddesses live there, the four archangels existed there, goddesses once again exist there, and that's about it. That's all we got. We have no idea what life is like there, we have no idea what they do, nothing of that is set up at all, or explained, there's nothing. So, I could definitely see Tarmiel, Sariel, and Ludishell sort of being the guides. And I could especially see it being in a very interesting way. Obviously, Ludishell underwent character development, Sariel and Tarmiel underwent character development, but I could see Tarmiel being the most open. He's the one who kind of welcomes them into the goddess realm, the celestial realm, and shows them around. It's like, hey, yeah, this is all cool, it's great to see you. You're Meliodas and Elizabeth's kid? Wow, I didn't even know that was possible. Nice to meet you, kid. Do you want to know anything? And then we start to have questions and questions and questions, but Tarmiel, ironically enough, being the second oldest of the four archangels, tied with Sariel, would probably not want to tell Tristan everything. He seems like a kind guy, and he wouldn't want to. What he would figure is soiling the mind of a young potential goddess. And he's like, there's a lot of things about goddess history, kid, that I don't think you need to worry about. You're a new generation leading a new group of people here. So I think you'll be better off knowing less. And then Tristan, a bit annoyed with this, would be like, okay, can I meet the others? And then he would go to Sariel, and Sariel, also being tied with Tarmiel at age 5,000, would tell Tristan a bit more. He would explain the escapades of the Archangels, them going to the other realms, them doing certain things, them acting as evangelists, and sort of explaining the whole narrative of why the goddess clan became revered in the first place. Tariel would give a general explanation. He would tell about the goddess clan and how goddesses live, giving Tristan that sort of background, but then Sariel would sort of act as the key to understand why goddesses are viewed the way they are within the Seven Deadly Sins world, why they built that image. Was it a plot of the supreme deity? Was it just a general choice that the goddesses made? What was that, and what led to that? And Sariel would give a whole, I suppose just giving it as raw exposition would not be as interesting, so a flashback would be nice to see, a proper reasoning for why they did this, and maybe even explaining the original purpose of the Archangels, because notably we don't actually get a reason for why the Archangels were formed. I always headcanon it, it's just the supreme deity found out about the command, so I was like, hey, I'm gonna do that too. But like, what's a real reason for why they were made? Were they made to be conquerors? Were they made to be protectors? Were they made to be denizens of order? Seemingly enough, the celestial realm, from what little we see of it, is a lot more order than the demon realm, so it seems like it wouldn't need enforcers like the commandments essentially were for the demon king, like the original demon was. But that also could explain, was there an original demon variant on the side of the celestial realm? Is that why the graces were formed? Give us a whole background on that. Let us really understand it. And this could also not just help Tristan, but help Gawain better understand herself and her own magic and sunshine, and really get a reflection and true comprehension of it, considering Escanor never necessarily got to learn too much about it. All he knew is that Mael had it first, and that's about it. And that it was a grace, but the origins of the grace, why it was made this way, how it was made that way, all of it would be really interesting to see someone like Tristan and someone like Gawain learn about, get that better understanding, get that better knowledge of it. And then once again, when Tristan pries a bit deeper, tries to pry into the dark past of people like the Bloody Ellie, the many invasions he's heard about of the goddess clan into the demon world, into other realms, trying to get more context behind that, Sariel once again, focused on the somewhat squeaky clean image, says, you don't need to worry about that. Honestly, it's a thing of our past, and obviously the past will have internal ramifications on the present, but at this point, it's been over 6,000 years. Really, 9,000, or if not 11. You need not worry about that, young man. And then Tristan, fed up with it, goes to the leader, goes to the man who now acts as presumably the current surrogate of the supreme deity, Ludishau. And Tristan would ask for Ludishau to be real with him. At the end of all this, he's learned a lot. He understands a lot more about the celestial realm and the history of it than he ever knew, than any of us ever knew. But he wants real answers. He wants to know who the Bloody Ellie was. He wants to know why she even had that title in the first place. He wants to know if it wasn't just the demon clan who were monsters and invaders. He wants to know if both sides of his heritage were really built like that. And Ludishau, after all his development, after all of his understanding, and after his mixed feelings about Tristan's very existence, obviously, he probably, even after all he's went through, doesn't feel the best about it, would need one last push of encouragement from the younger brother, as the eldest Archangel would finally sit down and tell Tristan the truth about the demon clan and their relationship with the goddess clan, and how the goddess clan, as light and darkness are, was always predators to the demons. He would explain everything. The invasion of the demon realm, slaying of countless innocent civilians, the capture to bait out the 10 Commandments, everything. And most of all, he would explain the Bloody Ellie, the monster that was Tristan's mother, the person who, even more than Ludishau, had slain countless demons in the name of the supreme deity, to the point where she was feared across all 5 realms for her power and her fury and her darkness that was born of light. And Tristan would finally understand, it would finally click with him, that one side of himself isn't more holy than the other. One side of himself isn't as much more of a monster than the other. Both sides of both light and darkness were steeped in good and steeped in evil. And he needs to understand that in order to progress and understand himself better as an individual. I think that would be a neat way to use them, mainly because, like, that's something only they could provide. Like, specifically, obviously, Elizabeth and Meliodas could provide it, but if they didn't provide it to Tristan in 16 years, and they're either going to get not off screen, they're either going to get, or sealed away, then I think using the only other characters that could do it, once again, Zeldris is only 252. Bro has not been around that long. He's only, I believe, a tenth of Mael's age. Let me double check. Not even. Mael is 3,500. Jeez, I forget how old these boys are. Don't you make a video talking about Seven Deadly Sins ages and how weird they are? But, like, legitimately, these are the only people from that time period that are still breathing. You got to think about that. And that's if they even probably resurrected at this point. But Mael, we know he should still be breathing. But these are the only people from that time period. Dahlia isn't from that time period. Buzu's the only other one. But they aren't even finding him. Meliodas is going to go find him. And I don't think Buzu is going to be able to tell him about the history of the celestial realm and how goddesses were acting and stuff like that. And the reasoning behind that. So these are literally the only characters from that time period who are still alive in high enough positions of power that they would know about this stuff and would be the kind of people who could tell Tristan this based on their development. So I think that would be the most interesting route to use the Archangels, especially in comparison to just having them be like combatants again. Because I do think they're power crept. I think if they aren't already power crept, they're going to be power crept even more by the rest of the cast. And I think they are pretty much banned from the Camelot section of the story unless they somehow manage to take down the Inhuman barrier. So using them as, unfortunately, like exposition machines to tell Tristan about the past of the Goddess clan would be a really interesting way to take the characters who represented the pinnacle of the Goddess clan for so long. However, that's what I think. Please put what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come on the channel. Also I do have a page down below. Use as low as $1 a month. And exclusive videos, early content, and more. Also now become a member channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dagger the Pencil, writing off.